Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Big Sky. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we'll immediately start with Luke, Paige, and Walter. And it's like, right, give me the book. It's like, well, I don't have it because I thought you had it, because he doesn't know that it was Sonny that took the bag, because he thought like, oh, Paige took the bag, because he thought like, oh, I didn't kill you, but I just assumed you actually left. But Walter's like, no, I saw you were going to bludgeon her with that rock. You were actually going to kill her. So nah, like, you're screwed, and gives him a head start and eventually does kill him. And I think I might have referenced this last episode, but this episode, dude, I think I referenced that, like, man, nothing's going to go according to plan because there's too many moving pieces, and it really comes into play this episode because Sonny and Buck are trying to set up their narrative of like, oh yeah, it's Luke who did this. I'm like, yeah, but the moment he shows up dead, that's not going to help your narrative because they don't know about no one fully knows everything that's going on. Walter and Paige don't know about what Sonny and Buck are doing. They know, well, Luke knows about the Dono and Tanya's situation because, like, right, they were hired by the people that are after you. So, but Dono and Tanya know about that, but they don't know about Buck and Sonny's involvement. So it's just this whole, no one has the full picture, and that makes Buck and Sonny's setup fall apart. Because it's like, yeah, it doesn't really help, because obviously it's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, right, so it's because later on they're like, wait, Luke, so he killed Paige and then killed Mary because Mary found the bag, but went left in a hurry, but didn't take incriminating evidence with them because they found the phone because Sonny planted it, because once again they didn't know all this other stuff. It's like they're flying by the seat of their pants too, trying to make the most out of this situation. Buck brought Mary's body back because it's like, hey, I didn't know if like maybe there's some of my DNA on her body or maybe some of her DNA is on me, but me bringing the body here, it's like, yeah. But it also can't help but make you look suspicious because it's like, why'd you leave the body? But he's like, hey, I'm a father. I treated her like she was my own child, and I didn't want her to leave her out there for the bears to get her. It's like, yeah, but you contaminated the crime scene, and it's like, yeah, but, you know, so that's why I'm like, you know. And obviously they're finding that a little suspicious, but he does give a plausible, emotional enough reason that you're just kind of like, don't know what to make of it. So, and I just love that it's like, obviously, Jenny finding out that Dono and Tanya are there, which that's a whole lane in itself, because really quickly it's like, oh, we're a pretend married couple, and it's like, yeah, we're pretending, like our only we're guilty of is pretending that we're like lying about us being in love, which is like, truth be told, is they are true. Like, yes, they came here with ulterior motives. They were ordered to kill Luke, but they didn't actually do anything illegal. And then you see it in Dono's eyes. He's like, yeah, I even named a sandwich after. And you could tell, like, it really kind of caught, like, Jenny was almost like, wait, what? It's like, because Dono's in love with, he's in love with her. And I don't think she quite got because she's like, yeah, we're partners, and she trusts Dono, but I don't think she realizes that he's in love with her, you know. And later on, it's just like, yeah, I told him that we did was pretend that we were in love. He was like, yeah, I said the exact same thing, and it's like, oh, it's like, that's so sad. Like, she's completely unaware about how you feel about it. I think she on some level likes Dono too, but I don't think she's really come to terms with her. I don't know. It's once again, there is, I was catching those vibes last season, but I couldn't, like I said, I brought it up last season, I couldn't tell whether or not he had feelings for Ren or was it Tanya. But as the things went on, I was like, oh, it definitely seemed like a him, because it's a loyalty thing with Ren. Like, it's like, it's my job to protect her, so I care about her a lot. But it's definitely like he definitely fell for Tanya. I mean, it's like, considering where they started to where they are now, I said it before and I'll say it again, it's wild to think about that. So it almost makes that love story even more interesting, because it's like, oh, like, where'd you started off, you know, you're kidnapping her, you're threatening her, and now it's like, oh, there's kind of potentially you guys falling in love. It's, you know, it feels almost perfect that would be the case. Because, like, obviously Tanya really quickly got over the whole issues with Dono, and she spent a lot of time last season learning from him, you know, trying to be, you know, better at her job and everything, and consider their business partners and everything. I even love that Jenny kind of throws Bo under the bus, being like, oh yeah, just because you're kind of sweet on Dono because of his sandwich, and Bo's like, Yeah, like people can like even bad people can have good qualities. It just happens that Dono's good quality ends up being his sandwich making skills. And even Papa Nick walking up and like, "Oh, is Dono making sandwiches?" He's like, fortunately not. I'm like, I love we're having this conversation. It's like they are legitimately bad people. They're bad guys, but it's like, but once again, I think this show does such a. This is something I say all the time too. This show has quirky villains, and I like that. Especially like Dono and Tanya, they are quirky villains. Like Dono's he was very quirky last season, but this show's always had that element to it. So I just think that's so interesting. Obviously, we find out a little. Well, I think it's interesting, and I feel like he kind of shot himself in the foot doing this. Avery's the one that mentioned to Bo the 15 million in like crypto. He even brought it up to Emily because I guess he was thinking maybe if he brought it up to Emily, it sells the story a little bit more. Like, oh yeah, but it's like, wouldn't Emily be like, yeah, my dad just told me a couple hours ago. I was like, wait, why would he tell you when he just told us a little before? Like, that doesn't make any sense, you know? But also, I guess it's like, he was hoping like, oh, if he mentioned it, maybe she would have offhandedly heard something from Luke about it, so that could help him. Maybe that's what he was hoping for. But when they're interrogating, well, you know, questioning Carla and Avery separately, it turns out Poppernick ended up finding out that Avery's under investigation, well, it was from the SEC. And so basically some mishandling of funds, and apparently Carla didn't know about it. And I'm like, so that's what the 15 million's been all about. I was like, why are you so invested in this? I was like, I felt there was something shady going on. It's like, yeah, because he's already in deep trouble. So I think the situation, and it's unclear what the 15 mil was going to be. Either it was going to be running away money, and was like, well, how do you convince Carla and Emily to run away with you? I don't get that. Like, was you going on vacation your way to kind of get away from all that until you could find a permanent solution? So unlikely. I don't feel like it's the runaway option, but I'm putting it on the table. My thought was, well, I guess the 15 million can go a long way to covering the mishandled funds, and you'd be like, oh no, like the funds are here. See, look at all these. See, that's 15 million. See what? Or maybe he takes whatever it is and say like he only needs half of that to cover up some of the mishandled funds, and he gets to pocket the other like 7.5 million, right? So maybe that's all that really is. I don't know. That is my leading theory, just because because of that intro. Because I was for so long being like, why are you so invested in this? Like, why are you so all up in their business? Like, because I guess it's like from one shady guy to another, he recognized they were into some shady stuff, and then he found out of the money, and he's like, golden opportunity. Because he was already invested in this, and the fact is, he found the gun in Paige's bag, he didn't say anything, and he was kind of lying to Emily, understandably, but I'm like, what is your deal, dude? And it's like, yeah, you're kind of avoiding the law a little bit yourself because you're currently being investigated, and Carla didn't appreciate that, which I love. Avery's trying to spin this as like, oh, Bo is just trying to cause issues, which, yes, Bo has issues with you. Understandably, he doesn't like you at all, and he just, you know, which even Jenny kind of jokes. It's like, yeah, isn't it kind of a little rude that you're kind of like, little kind of stalking your ex and her new husband when you're digging? It's like, hey, we got to look at everyone, which is so interesting considering like Jenny was going so hard in the paint against Dono and Tanya, that he was kind of like, right, we'll treat them like any potential suspect. We won't immediately think they're guilty. So there's that. We also learned an interesting amount that Bo has managed to, yes, he's kind of charming and everything, but he's managed to avoid talking too much about himself, because it turns out his partner died in Texas, and he ended up like blaming himself. That's a big part of their relationship. It's like, right, why their relationship fell apart. He had issues with the type of clients that she represented, because it's like, right, you represent some very bad people, and it's like, yeah, you take what jobs are given to you. Like, the whole point is like the system is built that way, because it's like, right, everyone does, regardless of it all, like the system is meant to be like, if not everyone can get the same equal representation, and no, you know, but even that's not even fair, because it's like, well, a paid lawyer is going to be very different than a public defender who's got multiple other clients. Like, you're not going to be their priority because they've got so many other cases juggling, right? So it's not 100% equal, but it's still a thing of, you don't have a you don't have a lawyer will be supplied for you type of thing. So, you know, that at least there's some equilibrium, even if it is a little skewed in some regards in that in the legal system, but still. So, but I think it almost seemed like Carla was kind of implying like something's going on between Jenny and him, and it's not. It does feel like Jenny might be interested in Bo, and I don't, because she was just kind of like a couple episodes ago. She was like, "Oh, you're still in love with your ex," you know, and it's like he's like, "What?" Kind of like, "No, I'm not," and it's like, "Yeah, you are." It's pretty obvious. So, but I think it's for Jenny. It's like, right, well, all this time we spent together, and you've kind of told me nothing about you, and I'm finding out from your ex all this stuff that you've kind of kept to yourself. Because for her, I'm sure it's like the way he acts, you would never think he was like shouldering all that on his own. Like once again, he puts on that charming smile and just kind of like that, all that Texan, you know, swag, like I said, swag and charm that it's just like you would never know like he had been through all that he's been through. So. Sonny and Buck have bigger issues because their attempt to frame all this stuff is falling apart now that Luke's dead. So Buck's like, "Hey, maybe we might have no choice but to throw Walter under the bus." And it's like, because he killed Paige and now killed Luke, so we gotta throw it at him because, well, also gotta cover, you know, and I'm sure pin Mary on him because it's like, right, Mary's kind of on Buck, but like I said, Buck's got some weird stuff going on. Like I said, I don't believe anymore that Walter's the heart or the bloody heart killer. I believe that's Buck. I think it's him, and I believe I don't think Sonny knows about that. So I think there's kind of surprises on all fronts. Like, she is doing a lot to protect her son. She hasn't murdered anyone, but she has covered up stuff Buck has. But I think there's also, because that comes a little natural to him, because I think this is probably the first time he's killed anyone in probably 20 years, because that was the last time the blood was. I want to keep saying the bloody heart killer, but I don't remember. I always forget the name they had given it, like Denise had said for like this killer, but it's like it's got to be Buck, and just like it might have cool. Yeah, I mean, once again, it's probably a little bit of a, if you've seen Prodigal Son, it's probably kind of something of that kind of ilk. I don't think Cormac has that issue. I mean, Walter does, but obviously, like, Walter's not Buck's kid, so that's why I don't directly correlate that in that regard, but given the opportunity, Buck does sell out Walter, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen that guy," but he doesn't, because he knows that if he brings up the fact yeah, that's my wife's first son. It's like, wait, what? You knew this? Blah, you know. It's like you don't want all those details because it can make stuff fall back on you. Because it's like, had you been covering up for him? So it's like, right, treat him like a complete and utter stranger. You know, Buck made that decision unilaterally because Sonny was like, no, we got to do what we can to protect him because that's still our baby boy, regardless of anything. So, and what complicates things on top of all that, Cormac's starting to question his parents. He already has been for a while. So it's like really when Cassie's leaning into the whole like, yeah, I looked into it, can't find any sales record about your dad selling that van, which Cormac's like, there's plenty of vehicles, so there's no clear-cut answer for that. But then he goes investigating, and he finds the title to the vehicle, and he's like, that's suspicious as hell. And then he finds a photo, and he recognizes, like, I don't think that's me. And he finds, like, one of the hospital bracelet things. And it's like, yeah, it's someone else. He's like, yeah, this is something else. Obviously, Sonny and Buck are like, oh yeah, that's your cousin. Remember the one that blah, blah, blah. It's like, so that's why Buck is like, we need to tell him the truth about everything, because with everything spiraling out like it is, we need to come together as a family. And the thing is, given the opportunity, I don't know if Cormac would work with them, because it's like, because even he had said, like, right, you grow up kind of thinking you know what your family is, and now it's like you find it. You know, he didn't confide in Cassie yet, but he eventually will, because I think he's probably going to be like, yeah, this guy, they probably might run his DNA and maybe like Sonny's, or like, I don't know if they would be in the system, maybe Cormac is or something like that, but it might be a thing of something might correlate to Cormac now having seen the baby photo. Maybe he might think like, who are you? What are your connection to my mom? It's like, because I don't know if Walter knows about Cormac, knows about it. I don't know if he knows he has a half brother, you know? So, I mean, obviously Cormac doesn't know him. He's finding out now, but I don't know if Walter already knew or not. because there's never really been any conversation about Cormac between him and his mom, so maybe that's just a touchy subject. He's aware of Cormac, but he just never brings it up because it's like, yeah, that's the son you love and accept, and I'm the one that's kind of out here in the woods just because of what I've done in the past. So, I mean, because of DNA and stuff like that, he might be in the system because, well, I don't know if he was like fully arrested for killing his foster parents or not, or whether like he killed him and then she whisked him away. Like maybe he found his way to his biological mom, or maybe she just helped him disappear after he was locked up or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some answers to some of that coming up soon. But my point when I went into all that is I just don't think Cormac's going to support his family because he realizes they're liars, but it's still your parents, so I hope he doesn't protect them. I hope he's like, no, they need it, because he might think like, right, they covered up some stuff, but he's like, okay, they didn't do anything else other than that, so he might defend them, not knowing that his father is already killed Mary, potentially could be a serial killer, so there's all of that. Then we have like the Paige situation where like the moment the police were finding their way in the woods and Cormac pointed them in the right direction, you had Walter being like, all right, I'm a stay here and give you enough time to get away, because it's like, because at the end of the day, Paige hasn't done anything illegal, but it's like, no, the people who are after me have already got people here. She doesn't even know that they're actually the people who hired Dono and Tanya are already here. So that adds another layer of like, cool, like they're gonna come here and like cause some issues. But for her, she's like, yeah, if I get like taken in, like they'll easily find me and they'll kill me. But he's like, no, you'll get away. Like he wanted to protect her. He said like I would. And I legitimately can't tell. Like I feel like obviously from the beginning she didn't really care about Walter. It's like, no, you're a means to an end. But part of me is like, are we almost having a little bit of is it almost supposed to be like a Walter and, not Walter, a Scarlett and Ronald thing kind of going on? I mean, they kind of clicked immediately, and especially when he found out about like who she was, and she was always fine with who he was. But my thing is, and my thinking is, I'm curious, I can't tell. Like from the very beginning, I knew she was using him. That was the whole point. She didn't really feel the way he felt about her. She didn't feel the connection. But in this moment, I don't know if it's a thing of like, oh, I generally do like you because you actually do care about me, or is it like, damn, I lost my helper. Like you are the one that's able to get your hands dirty, do the things that I can't do. You're so useful to me. It sucks I don't get to keep you around, but hey, you want to like help me out, you know? So, cause obviously for him, it's like, oh, I love you. So you go, I'm going to give you as much time as possible. But once again, Bo's kind of like, oh, maybe this is all open and shut. And I love that it's like, Buck has said it from the beginning. It's like, oh, the police will sell this narrative to them and they'll be fine with it because they want something that makes sense, and this makes plenty of sense. But then immediately hard cut to like Bo and G and be like, this doesn't make any sense. Now Bo's like, hey, we need a win. This is kind of closed shut. But then Jenny and Cassie, specifically Cassie, was like, something's not right about this. And Jenny's like, yeah, I agree with Cassie. So now you have Sunny nearby watching because she tried to warn Walter to get out. But it was already too late. But now the question is, what is she going to do to try and keep her son out of jail? Like, what's that going to turn into? I almost halfway expected Paige running out in the woods. I almost halfway expected her to run into Cormac because he's there like nearby. So I thought that was going to happen. But it's like she's probably like further out in the woods so she wouldn't end up running into him. But there's always a possibility she's going to run into Avery and the other two because Avery stole the pages from the book. So he's out there in the woods. The other two are following Avery, and obviously Paige is out there in the woods because at the same time Dono and Tanya are trying to use this opportunity to get, it's like, right, we get the book and we get out of here. Once again, they're completely unaware the other two are here too, so it's like so many moving pieces. You're like, dude, how's this going to play out? Can't nobody keep their story straight because there's too many moving pieces to this that, once again, no one has the full story. No one's got the full story about what everyone else has been up to, you know? I mean, Sonny and Buck have really muddied the water doing this whole covering up thing, not realizing the criminal activity that was kind of going underneath there. And obviously, like, they're smack dab in the middle of this because Walter ended up killing Luke, but Buck is the one who killed Mary. And then, like, you had Sonny covering up everything with Mark the hiker. And now it's just like, oh, they put themselves in the middle of something they shouldn't have. And they didn't know the storm that was finding its way to their camp. And now their camp is continuing to be their centerfold for shit to get crazy, you know? So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.